Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'll call a regular meeting of the Buckhannon City Council to order. Ask you to join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We'll respect the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We always try to take this opportunity to recognize guests, and traditionally we like to ask all the Wesleyan students to stand up where you are and face our camera. He'll turn it around there where he can see you. We want to know what your name is, where you're from, what your major is. So we'll start right here.
Devin Anderson from Fredericksburg, Virginia, and majoring in business administration.
My name is Justin Fortune. I'm from Tampa, Florida, and I'm majoring in business management.
My name is Samantha Dean, and I'm from Buckhannon, West Virginia, majoring in biology.
I'm Jacob Ortiz. I'm from Mason, West Virginia, and I'm majoring in business management.
Gabriel Sigmund from Virginia Beach and majoring in business administration.
My name is Trey King from Hagerstown, Maryland, and I'm majoring in business administration.
My name is Taylor Courtney. I'm from Solomons, Maryland, and I'm majoring in business administration.
My name is Tom Marshall from Bradenton, Florida, majoring in business management.
My name is Janelle Meyer. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm majoring in business management.
My name is Ahmad Dubar. I'm from Prince George's County, Maryland, and I'm majoring in sport and business.
Got it? Thank you all for being here. Hope we don't scare you too much. We have on the list who signed in a Red Ribbon Week proclamation. Joyce, is that you?
And company.
And company.
Do you mind if we?
Please do.
Okay.
I have to be.
Let the little one come up.
Let's get over here and get a photo op for these people. Not for me. For me, you'd make me shake. I'm going to read this proclamation. I think it says a lot about what these folks are doing, and then I'm sure they'll have some more presentation. Whereas Upshur County and the City of Buckhannon value the health and safety of all citizens, and whereas substance abuse is particularly damaging to one of our most valuable resources, our children, and a contributing factor in the 3 leading causes of teen death, it's accidents, homicides, suicides, and whereas it is the goal of the Upshur County Red Ribbon Campaign and the City of Buckhannon to involve families, schools, businesses, churches, law enforcement agencies, and service organizations in all aspects of this campaign, and establish an atmosphere that supports awareness, education, and ongoing initiatives to prevent illegal drug use. And whereas the Upshur County Red Ribbon Campaign theme promotes family and individual responsibility for living healthy, drug-free lifestyles without illegal drugs or the illegal use of legal drugs. And whereas there are many activities planned during the Red Ribbon Campaign in Upshur County, the theme this year is Love Yourself, Be Drug-Free. Therefore, the Mayor and the City Council of Buckhannon do hereby proclaim October 27 through 31, 2014 as Red Ribbon Week in Buckhannon and Upshur County, West Virginia, and urge all citizens to join in the week's activities and to work all year long to protect our community from the dangers of alcohol and other drugs. Present that to you. And whatever else you want to say, have right at it. Okay. I'm going to go sit down.
Amanda's and in this as well.
She's sitting down.
Well, we'd just like to share a little bit of the activities that's going to be going on. Kathy McCauley is a counselor at the middle school, and she is our Red Ribbon Committee Chair, and she's going to share some of those things that's going to be going on in individual schools. And then Jimmy Lance, one of our students, and she's going to be sharing what the themes are per day. And we would encourage all of you in the community, because it takes this community, our schools, our governments, our individuals working together to bring awareness to substance abuse. And it takes all of us to do the job and to make a difference in the lives of our children in particular, so that they know that the community is behind them. We'll do anything we can to keep them away from drugs and give them the opportunity to have healthy, happy lives and be productive citizens here in Buckhannon and all of Upshur County. So, thank you.
And this is our 10th year to be involved in Red Ribbon Week in Upshur County schools. And we have activities from kindergarten clear up through 12th grade for the students. Different things that we have police officers come in and do presentations. We have contests, poster contests, essay contests. In each school, they do different things for the kids to participate in. And it's really a lot of fun, and we try to teach them that there's other things to do besides drugs. And we make it real positive and hope that it sticks with them when they're faced with these decisions that they may be faced with. And one of the things we do in the entire county is we dress to daily themes, and Jamie's going to tell you what those are.
Our daily themes are: for Monday, love yourself, be drug-free, wear red and kick off. Tuesday is sock it to drugs, we wear crazy socks. Wednesday, my future is bright, we will wear bright colors. Thursday, team up against drugs, wear our favorite team sports shirt. Friday, say boo to drugs, wear a Halloween themed shirt or Halloween colors.
We'd ask the guests to do that as well. Pull out your crazy socks.
Got a hell of a time out.
Yeah.
Left over from time out till this train comes by. I guess he's going to wait till somebody else try to say something, then he's going to lay on that horn.
Okay, I'll go fast. What about that mock thing they're doing with the room set up? Are you ladies, are y'all, is that all part of you, or is that something else? That's Hope. They were here a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Were they gonna, you're part of that too, Joyce?
That's not part of Red Ribbon.
Right.
But we will have our several of our youth care members are going to be going to that and participating in some of those activities as well. You all have any other questions?
No, but I got to tell you, Joyce, you know, I've had my 3 daughters go through the elementary schools, and one of the best things that they love about the school, and it's not only educational, but it's so much fun for the kids at the elementary level, even up to the high school level, because they take it to a different level, of course. But I got to commend you, 10 years of being able to do this. It's a legacy well worth fighting for, and I congratulate you and all of the Board of Education and the schools for the effort that you put all week long in this. I know it's fun, but underneath it all, man, what a great goal to achieve, and you know it works. I've seen it work. I know of youth that it's worked with and prevented, so just wanted to throw that out there to you as a dad who's been going through that. So.
Well, it's a team effort.
Thank you.
And we all pull together, and we know that we have to in order to make a difference. And, you know, you can look forward to seeing the essays. Our high school students and our middle school students will be writing essays, and we'll be giving them prizes, actually cash prizes for the winners, and our Buckhannon Rotary Club assists with that, and we're very appreciative of that as well. But Amanda usually judges those and then prints them in the paper, and it's just it's real heartwarming to see that the students take that to heart and write their essays, and it's very heartfelt, the things that they share from the heart about substance abuse in their families, and the need for them, they know, to stay away from drugs, so that they will be happy and healthy. And so we look forward to that as well. And you know, the elementary schools do all kinds of cool things. I think they, you know, and Kathy could speak more to that. You know, some of them will release balloons, and some of them have brick walls that they post things to, and you know, just a lot of cool stuff. And the kids that, you know, they're part of, you know, deciding, you know, what's special to them, and then they work together as teams in their individual schools and make a difference, you know, among themselves. So, and they take ownership of that.
Well, don't they say that art and music is a good outlet to get our children involved in, instead of using drugs as an outlet? And as a matter of fact, at the local artistry on Main, they teach painting classes and different artwork there. But on the door, there's this poster, and it says exactly what you're saying, because I was in there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, our elementary students will be doing poster contests, and so they can design that, you know, any way they like. And we nearly always, you know, I think those are judged as well, and then they are either displayed at their schools or at Stockford Youth Center.
Stockford Youth Center. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you all very much. So get involved and do your part, you know, to help our community and our kids.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
Peter Brown.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, citizens of Buckhannon. This evening I came to address a couple of subjects. I'm with Suddenly Communications, for those of you who may not know me. The first subject I just should not be here to talk about. I stood not too long ago before this council and assured them that our issue at the water tank hill would not recur. Unfortunately, I have to report that we have breached that trust. We have a project underway to expand our internet capabilities, broadband capabilities in Buckhannon, and our engineering staff proceeded on that project without soliciting the cooperation and engaging the city of Buckhannon, particularly Mr. Holland. And we've since stopped that project, and we own that. We failed. It's hard for me to stand here after all these years and say that. But we will certainly own that. Now, to the extent we would certainly like to proceed with that project, but we're not going to proceed with that project without the cooperation of the city, certainly without Mr. Holland's input and approval, because that facility is not just a facility that we're very fortunate to have. It also serves the city of Buckhannon's water supply. And there were certainly some questionable decision-making on the part of the project manager in this case. And he really subjected us to both of our entities, our Suddenlink as well as the city, left us open, from a liability perspective. And we certainly don't want that to happen ever again. And we certainly apologize to Mr. Holland. We put him in an awkward position. He is, the city has entrusted him, and he's mandated federally and through the state to take care of that facility, and we put him in a bad spot. So we're not going to do that again. Okay? So to the extent, I think Mr. Miller is trying to get in touch with you.
Yes.
Okay, so if we can get that arranged, we're not going to proceed till that occurs. Okay? So if I can help facilitate that, I'm happy to do that. I'll entertain any questions about that situation. If someone has a question concerning that, I think you're all aware of it. I'm happy to do that.
Peter, we may not all be aware of the situation, if you would
Okay.
explain what happened.
We had a contractor, a third-party contractor that works for us. We're installing a 400 amp service. We have 200 amp electrical service in that facility. We're expanding our broadband offerings in this community, which requires to add additional equipment to that facility and add additional HVAC equipment, which requires additional power to do that. So we also have to change the power source there from 200 amps to 400 amps. So we have a contractor to come in who is well qualified in commercial electrical work, and they proceeded that work, which entailed adding a new service entrance, adding conduit, underground conduit to the building, which certainly was excavated. We dropped the contractor felt that it would make it easier to, if they removed a section of the fence in order to use the excavator. They did that, and then did not secure the fence while that project was underway. And that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable certainly to the city, certainly not acceptable to Suddenlink. We both have certainly significant assets. Now, that contractor is under the employment of Suddenlink, and certainly just like as if Suddenlink was doing it. So we had project management on that job, and we all own that. That is our fault. So I think the site's secure now, right? Well, we have since halted the project. So we do have the power company has completed its work into the drop pole. We have completed the service entrance work. I think the conduits are in. There's certainly we're going to deploy. We have standby power generation on that site. We've had that for a number of years. We have to upgrade that as well. So we can continually want to upgrade the facility, and we're going to exchange our 45 watt 1,000 generators. We have a primary and a standby. We're going to exchange those and put in 80,000 watt standby generators, and that's to maintain that end-to-end facility in case power goes out. That never happens in Buckhannon, but we want to make sure that if by chance that happens, that head-end facility will stay operational. So that's the plan. That will mean that we have to, those generators are fairly large. They should sit in the footprint that we're in today. But we need to coordinate that effort with Mr. Holland to ensure that we're not encroaching on something that we shouldn't be, or he's comfortable that we're using professional practices to do that work, and that meets certainly meets all codes and specifications and so on. So that should have been done up front. It was not. Okay? And we don't want to continue until we get that approval. So I think certainly the intent is to benefit the community and continue to benefit upgrade our internet services. Currently, you're capable of getting 50 meg service. We're certainly going to expand that to probably 100, and in the future even more. So we live in a very wireless world today, and internet is certainly a lot of commerce, certainly benefit to the commercial part of Buckhannon as well. So we would like to continue. So is there anything else I could answer for you? I'd be happy to.
I think we're good on that. You said you had something else? Or?
Yeah. While I was here, I certainly wanted to entertain any questions concerning the Viacom drop of channels that certainly has gotten a lot of press. And so, to the extent that I can set the record straight, be happy to do so. Recently, Suddenlink dropped from its channel lineups a suite of Viacom programming to include some popular programming, MTV, VH1, Comedy Central, BET, and their kind of sister programming. Certainly, that did not go. That decision was not made at the spur of the moment. That decision, and it was not made easily. And it was really truly the outcome of negotiations with Viacom. Viacom certainly wanted to increase the cost of that programming 50%. I think they're reporting that it wasn't quite that high, but the fact is that is the truth. Certainly, Viacom is also reporting that we refused to negotiate. We certainly negotiated in good faith up to the last day of our contract, September 30th. And each one of those offers that we made was refused by Viacom, to the extent that we even asked for them to allow us to put on a la carte programming. You know, the channels that were widely viewed. Certainly there are channels that were widely viewed in those in that Viacom suite of programming. But they came back actually tripling the price over and above. So we just felt it was not reasonable from a business perspective to pay the 50% increase. And subsequently, the citizens of Buckhannon and the ones that we serve would have to pay that increase as well. It's not, it didn't really make it doesn't make good business sense. So we dropped that programming and we added other programming that it's been asked for by communities such as Buckhannon and others. RFD TV has been widely asked for. We have RFD TV put on. Hallmark Movie Channel was another programming that's been requested. We've added that programming. And crime and investigation and military history, comedy TV, Aspire, and some others that we use to replace it. Now, some of this programming is new to our community. Certainly they were not aware of it. There's other programming on here that was requested. Blaze was one of those, some programming that was requested. So although there are people who certainly were very attached to some of that Viacom programming and have opted to disconnect their video service with us and seek another provider, there are others of this community that were certainly applauding our stand with Viacom and really were interested in programming that we're offering and have actually come back to us. So I just want to assure you, we don't take programming decisions lightly. In certainly dropping a major programmer such as Viacom is significant. We are not by any means the only one that has done that. There have been 60 other multi-system operators in the country that have done that. We're by far one of the largest. Cable One certainly did that, I believe, about a year ago, which is another multi-system operator, and really has received the same treatment from Viacom. To the extent that programming is being Viacom programming, a lot of this programming can be received over the internet. You can see a lot of this, but unfortunately, Viacom has opted to block our IPs, and so that prevents people from receiving that programming. Viacom says that we're blocking those IPs. I'm not sure what benefit that would be to us, and we certainly are not blocking our customers from accessing anything over the open internet. This is the same tactic that was done to Cable One as well. So I just want to make sure that it's clear that we're not the ones that are blocking IP addresses. In fact, those who don't even receive our video programming, if you're a DirecTV subscriber, a Dish subscriber, or an internet subscriber with Suddenlink, that IP is being blocked. So it's people that didn't even have our service from a video perspective are being disenfranchised by Viacom. So if there are particular questions I can answer concerning Viacom, I'm happy to do that as well.
I noticed, Peter, that Viacom is also having some newspaper, magazine ads that are detrimental to your cable system. And I think it's very, very unfair that they are doing that. It's plain dirty.
Sure.
And as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if I ever watch another Viacom program or thing like that. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that, Councilman Pugh. It's certainly, people wonder why we're not coming back in the same regard that Viacom is certainly publicizing the change.
Yeah.
We're just not going to do that. It's just not.
We see enough of that with political ads.
Yeah.
Peter, they're saying the industry has really dramatically changed over the last X amount of years, and that content providers that own the content sort of have the upper hand. Is that generally the case that you're seeing in the industry?
I think you're correct, David. I mean, there's certainly when you read in the Wall Street Journal and other publications, there's in anything, if you follow Washington and the FCC, you read a lot about the model. The video programming model today is something that they believe it cannot be sustained based on that, because programmers have the upper hand when it comes to cost. So they certainly every year, we see this every year, programmers increase the cost of their programming, and subsequently people who distribute it, and not necessarily, obviously cable providers, but also Dish and DirecTV are subject to the same programming contracts and similar programming contracts. They have to pass those costs along. So where's the ceiling is at the end of the day, Dave, how much can the public tolerate, and how much obviously can the distributor tolerate under that model, and because we know at some point that's not sustainable. I mean, under any kind of business metric, you can see that it's not difficult. And also when you look at all of the distributors in the marketplace today, not just direct broadcast satellite TV, but in cable providers, but you have internet providers, Roku and Amazon and Hulu and so on. There's a lot of people in the marketplace, and as I said earlier, you can receive a lot of this programming directly over the internet. So in our younger group, our younger demographic, they're not sitting in front of a television. Okay, if they want to watch content, right, you jump on the computer, pull something up and watch it, directly, or they're not watching programming content, they're watching YouTube or doing something else. So they're not getting their content the way we traditionally did over the years. So is the model going to be sustainable for video programming over, really the jury's out at the end of the day, but a lot of people say no. So programmers today have the advantage, and unless more distributors step up and say, we just can't pay it, they'll continue to do it. So suddenly it's taking a stand in this regard.
Well, I appreciate you coming here, and especially I know corporations and businesses make mistakes, and I hope that the procedures are in place so that what happened with your expansion doesn't occur again, and same with other cities. And I'm sure you put some policies and procedure in effect that would be done.
Well, yeah, when we have, I mean, this has certainly been a very...
It's an embarrassment for you.
I'm very embarrassed. It is, I'm personally embarrassed. I've been a part of this community for a long time, and then generally when I come to this meeting, I have very pleasant things to talk about and very positive things to talk about, and I'm embarrassed because this is the second mistake that we've made in as many months, and you shouldn't be doing that. And we have been a hot topic of conversation this week, granted. Suddenly.
You should have had the other individual here that knows David is fake. You took the heat instead of him, right?
And you've been right in this position as well, Dave, in your career, so we know how that works.
I think we all have at one time or another.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Peter?
Mayor, I asked a question of Peter already knowing the answer, but I think it's an important one, and it follows up on Mr. Thomas's thoughts about the nature of the changing industry with TV cable. But Peter, I asked you during one of our earlier discussions of the past week about, is this just the tip of the iceberg with Viacom? Is the Turner and Fox and Disney ABC, the NBC, I mean, we all know that there's 6 or 8 major providers that own multiple services on our dial. And you indicated to me that Suddenlake has already signed the contracts for the foreseeable future with these other providers, and you don't see another Viacom kind of a scenario on the near horizon. Is that a correct statement?
Well, that's pretty correct, David. In fact, I mean, I wish I could tell you exactly which of those programmers that we have already reached agreements, and I had that information, certainly can provide that at some other time, but ABC, Disney, ESPN, there's that set of suite of programming we've already reached terms with, who are very reasonable to deal with. Other programmers that we have that carry a suite of programming who are very reasonable individuals to deal with, we have reached agreements with. So you're in saying that, yes, generally major programming providers that we do business with, we have reached an agreement with significant ones. Now, to the extent all of them, I can't say that, but I can certainly provide the ones we can at some other point. So in the near, to the extent that programming would go away, in the near future, I do not anticipate that. But typically those contracts or 3, 5, plus years long, and they're not going to let them go too awful long without coming back into the well. Cost, the cost of programming is really based a lot on, as well too, from their perspective, is our insatiable appetite for programming. Anybody here a sports fan, right? Sports programming is some of the most expensive programming that anyone views. The ESPNs of the world, the Fox Sportses of the world, and we have an insatiable appetite. And I always use this example, it's not really old today, I've been using it for a lot of years. Back when ESPN started, I mean, you saw a couple games, right? You saw a couple regional games. I mean, now you see every game. Every game ever played in every sport, pretty much. Well, that costs a lot of money to do that. Okay, from their perspective, that's an expensive proposition to do, but we want it as consumers in the industry. We want that. We want that on-demand ability. Whether you get it through cable TV, direct broadcast, satellite, and pull in over the internet, someone's got to produce that. Someone's got to pay for that. Now, I'm not defending the programmers, but you can see that side of the business as well, and it's expensive, and we drive, as consumers, drive a lot of that.
Peter, I'm saying this for the benefit of the Wesleyan students. When I was growing up, too many years ago to remember sometimes, I think my parents paid less than $7 a month for phone service, and we had 3 channels: ABC, NBC, and CBS, and that was it. Now, we have an insatiable appetite for information and communication. A lot of families are paying $200 or $300 a month for their information, their cell phones, their smart thing, and Facebook, the computers. It's a different kind of society today, and
that's right.
I just wonder where it's going to end.
And I don't know the answer to that, so I don't know. We certainly suddenly prides itself in being able to offer the products, and we service a lot of rural America. Okay, Buckhannon is rural America. We bring a lot of very advanced services to this community, and we're able to do that only because we leverage, certainly our network, which is national network. We leverage our national network to do that and gain scale, economies of scale in doing so. So we can bring very robust internet service products here. We can bring good, robust video products, and certainly, wired telephone service, VoIP service. We certainly provide that at a very, very reasonable cost. Certainly when you bundle all that up, it's even a little bit more affordable. So, but and that's what we want to do, and we have, certainly we're adding other products like security, because security has now become, connected. You see, everybody's seen the commercials where he's using his iPhone to check the house where his son just left, and said he closed and locked all the doors. We provide those services as well, but it's connected, so we leverage our network to make that happen. Try to get that little plug in there.
Well, thanks for being so forthright.
You're welcome. Anytime. And certainly, if anytime that I need to come by, let me know. I just felt very compelled to come tonight because I just don't want us to have that kind of relationship.
Peter, I appreciate you coming in. I know crow's hard to eat, and because I've eaten my share of it. So, But thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you coming.
You don't have to stay, you can head out.
At least he can eat the crow, but Macaulay's never gonna get his steak.
That's
I'll buy one. I have
The whole council, not just McCall.
No, okay, well, I can make that.
No.
We're teasing.
Yeah, I know you are.
On the second, third page of your, fourth page of your agenda is Michael's report. I'm gonna just kind of highlight it because I know you can read, but the general fund report for September 2014, total revenues for the current year, 1.1 million, total expenditures, 0.8. So we're $234,000 revenues over expenditures. And from a quarterly perspective, revenues are up 82,000 from the previous year, and expenditures are down 99,000 from the previous year. As most of you are aware, the home rule application, the city of Buckhannon was accepted as one of the 16 home rule municipalities in West Virginia. I will say, even if Michael was sitting here, that wouldn't have happened without his work.
That's right.
He took this ball and ran with it, and we will benefit greatly from that, and it's all Michael. He says he's attached the process, which is a couple pages over, that it's the nuts and bolts of doing it. Mr. McCauley's going to be pretty busy with drafting ordinance legislation, and it'll be a period of time, but we're on our way with this. He also asked, he'd like to get council authorization to begin formulating options for a revision of our police and fire fees. If you're good with me giving him the nod to proceed with that, it doesn't say we're gonna do it. It simply says we're interested in seeing some scenarios.
That's been discussed before.
And so we can have something to chew on. So
We don't need a motion or
yeah,
anything?
no, I'll ask him to proceed with that.
Sounds
When
good.
he returns, he's out on some personal family business for this evening. So that's his report.
Kenny, I think that that meeting we had September the 8th with that 2-hour workshop where Michael did an excellent job in sort of summarizing the some of the financials in respect to the B&O and the fire and police fee. I think the B&O should be in there too, because I do think that it's time for us to also, no specific recommendations, but I see the fire and police fee and the B&O as something that should be looked at together, not separately. So that's just my suggestion anyway.
If you don't mind, Mayor, I'd also throw some accolades Michael's way. When we were at the presentation for our Bridgeport Home Rule Board, Michael came across, he's phenomenal. Came across is about as professional as you could be. He is top-notch professional as it is, but to be there and to watch him work with a bunch of cities that are judging you with a bunch of other cities, and for him to pull it out like he did was kudos to him, and it showed how lucky we are to have him as our city administrator, and we should be very proud to have him on board and show that more.
Yeah, he's a good one.
Yep.
He's a good one. Matt, police chief.
Good evening. A few things to update council on. The police department's very busy lately as we enter the fall season. We have a lot of different programs that we're very involved in. As was mentioned earlier, the Red Ribbon Week will occur at the end of October, and historically we've been very involved with that program, and it will be no different this year. We'll be putting some presentations on for our local schools. At that same time, and it's always a very busy week for us, we will also be involved in the Halloween safety program. That's another program that really has been a staple with the city police department and our schools here in town, where we go out and talk to youngsters about how to be safe when they're trick-or-treating. So we will be very involved with that as well. The mock bedroom that you spoke about, Mary. That is actually going to be at Town Hall. And I believe it will be October 22nd at 6:30, if memory serves me correct, at the high school.
At the high school.
Yeah. And we've been asked to be involved in that as well, and we will have representation at that town hall for an officer to be on hand with some materials and to answer any questions that would come up at that point. Also, to announce our continued partnership with Wesleyan College, we have taken on a work study from the college. A young lady by the name of Amanda Clark. She is a criminal justice major, actually, and we'll be doing some clerical work, 7 hours each week throughout the school year with the police department. And so this is the third student that we're working closely with. We have an intern, we have a volunteer that's been with us for a couple years now. This, sadly enough, this is her last year. She graduates in the spring, so she'll be sorely missed. She's been a major asset with the police department. This volunteers through the scholarship program at the college, and so now the work study. So again, we are very involved with the students and their academic programs there. And then finally, we are gearing up to work with the middle school gifted program. A couple years ago, we sponsored a crime scene and walked the students through. These are 6th through 8th grade students. Kind of the tools of the trade, talked about the specifics on how crime scenes are processed, and then that led up to a number of presentations that we gave to the students in the interim after the crime scene, speaking of police procedure and legal questions. And that led up to a mock trial that occurred here in our courthouse. This will be the second time that we've been involved in this program. We do have a tentative schedule of October 24th. I'm meeting with the gifted teacher tomorrow to finalize everything and go over the scenario. It's a really good scenario, and we met back in September and worked out a scenario for the students. And we have to work out roles for all 38 of the gifted students in the middle school to be a part of that. And so they're going to serve as everything from investigators to witnesses to some of them are going to be prosecutors, some are going to be defense attorneys. And so this will again culminate in a mock trial. Everything that we do at the mock crime scene will have a ramification for the good or the bad, and we're going to throw some wrenches at them. At the mock trial, which is tentatively scheduled for November 19th in the circuit courtroom before our circuit judge. He agreed to officiate the trial and work with the students, and it's going to be a wonderful learning opportunity for our students, and we're very happy to be involved in that.
Have you ever recorded that?
Did we record, do you know, Dennis, if we recorded that a couple years ago?
I did.
I did not.
I did.
I thought that we had some, yeah.
Crime scene and then
I thought that we had somebody there. Yeah, you were at the crime scene as well.
I did the crime
right.
scene.
That's right.
It'd be interesting to see that run on Channel 3 after it was over.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be great.
If I'm physically able to do it, I'll do
You were
it.
going to use it in your presentation at the end, or incorporate it. We never
I think
did.
we shared it with the school maybe, or we had it with our records. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
David, maybe some of your students can come and observe.
Certainly, with Matt's other hat that he sometimes wears over at Wesleyan as an instructor, he can probably draft his entire class.
I teach a criminal investigation class for the
Great.
college, and I have 2 crime scenes in this semester. So one's a property crime, the other's a violent crime. And so a lot of the same type of things that we're working with the gifted students, I have with the college students as well.
Any other questions for Matt?
How about the citizens?
The volunteer program? We're getting ready to roll that out. So as I announced last time, we do have interviews scheduled. We've had 9 individuals. Yes, and that's really a good number. It's more than what I expected, to be honest with you, to get started. A brand new program rolling out. So I'm very pleased with that number. We have 9 scheduled to be interviewed next week, and really begin to schedule some training sessions and getting ready to get them out, helping us here in the next few weeks.
And that's the 21st and 22nd, isn't it?
Actually, we got everything on the 21st.
Oh, we did? Oh,
Yeah,
good.
as of right now.
Oh.
The 22nd's a fallback.
Oh,
But
right.
we've got everybody seemingly locked into the 21st.
Okay.
So,
Matt, I want to take the time too on behalf of the Stockard Board to say thanks to your two officers. I guess it was Marshall and Mark
Stewart.
Mark Stewart came over, and we asked him to come over because there's been some concerns over the summer with vandalism and unlawful behavior around the Stockard Youth Center. Not only there, but in general right around that whole area. And so we came together to determine maybe how in the future we may be able to eliminate or alleviate some of that with more lighting and with more cameras. And just so the council knows that we may be working with, well, hopefully be working with the fire department and police department in Stockard as a team to work on that effort to see that we light up that area of Jawbone and in the PSC parking lot, which should really make things more comfortable in that area. So you'll be hearing more about that, but I want to make sure you thank your officers for coming. They're very helpful.
Matt, I want to ask the question. Our officers, when they're patrolling 33, how far are they allowed to go? Are they allowed to go out of the city limits on a chase, or how does that work?
yeah, anything that's it's well established in law, if anything originates inside city limits, we can leave our jurisdiction to either investigate that, or if we're in hot pursuit, we can continue beyond our jurisdiction.
Okay, because I wonder, because I witnessed one about a mile beyond Red Rock Road last night, and I wasn't sure if they were allowed to be doing that.
What was he doing?
He had us.
Did somebody pull over?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes, now in a scenario like that wasn't a pursuit. The last pursuit we had it's been about a month and a half, and actually resulted in a felony arrest. But there's times when we stop somebody on the 4-lane because of the speeds that it takes them a while to get stopped, and it could very well happen beyond the city limit boundaries.
Are you patrolling the 4-lane on a regular basis now?
Yeah, we have patrols out there, and you know, a lot of that is in response to the amount of wrecks, the sheer amount of wrecks that occur out there. I think the paper showed one last week. I worked 2 commercial motor vehicle accidents in 2 days on the 4-lane, and so that's just me in one shift. But
Are they all about the same area?
yeah, both of mine were at Brushy Fork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, I've said this several times, and I'll just say it again because I think it's important. I think there are some areas that have 4-way stops that it's an unbelievable number of people that just fly right through them, especially near the schools, the elementary and intermediate schools. And I don't know what we have to do to deter that. I mean, maybe the stop sign's not at the right place or something, but it happens. I know I'm not the only person in that neighborhood that, I mean, I hear them blow through that stop sign sometimes. It's a 4-way stop, but there are a couple other areas too that I'm not sure what we need to do to, you know, get that better taken care of. And, you know, there's a tragic accident up in Clarksburg a week or 2 ago where, you know, kids were on their way to school with their mother and they got run over. And people just need to be aware of the speed limits in residential areas and get off the cell phone. You know, it's we're doing it to ourselves. But I don't know what you all can do about that. Something needs to be done.
Well, certainly, you know, we're very aware of the issues that are out there, and have long been. You know, I've come before council before and talked about some of the issues that we have on our streets and highways, and some of the responses, either enforcement-wise or program-wise, that we've done over the years. We've actually been recognized for by AAA. But so we're certainly aware of the issues and are likewise vigilant in response to such awareness, and will continue to be.
You know, your VIP program is a great start with the 9 people, and we've talked about a neighborhood watch program at some point in time too, and maybe that's one way to address it in the future that might be worth looking at.
Chief, I got one question for you. Is your speed trailer working?
It is not actually.
It's not
down. Yeah, I think it probably just needs a battery replacement, but I have to check on the experts with that.
Can we find out, because we'd really like to get in front of Academy. That one's down, it will be down, and I've had a lot of people complaining to me about it. And I didn't know, I think that's the only other alternative we have at this point.
Right, the one in front of the Academy is solar powered, and I'm
Right.
not sure if that.
There's a component inside of it that got special order, and I don't even think they make it anymore. That's the issue with that.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
Right.
I think it was ordered.
Yeah, it's
gosh,
obsolete
upwards
now.
of 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah. So if we can see about getting that.
Yeah, the
fixed,
trailer's
we
2
can
years
get it.
old though.
All right.
But yeah, we can check on it.
Oh, thank you.
Do we have signs that tell us where the city limit boundaries are?
I'm aware of some.
On the 4 lane? On the 4 lane?
I think there's on Route 20, and I think they're on.
I can't see them on the 4 lane. I've looked and looked and looked, and I can never find a sign on the 4 lane that says where our boundaries are.
I know I've seen, well, of course I go to
I
Weston.
believe we should probably check into that and put some signs out where the boundaries are.
The ones I'm aware of are small. They're smaller signs. Yeah, they're not.
I haven't seen any small ones or large ones.
They have them there at the Brush
Jay, are there
Road.
signs?
They
Are
have
there
them.
out there?
Not that I'm aware of. You know, there may have been at one time, but I know they're on the old Weston Road and on the old Elkins Road, but they're not on the 4 lane, to the best of my knowledge.
I haven't seen them either small or large, and I think that we probably should put some out there. Just for the public's knowledge of where the city limit ends and begins.
I'm sure we'd have to give it to the DOH.
Well,
Yeah, Thank you, Matthew, for everything that you and your officers do.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tom.
Good evening.
Evening.
At our last water board meeting, Mr. Hall and I took the opportunity to update the water board on, gave them a progress report, where we stand in compliance with the emergency spill legislation we're all becoming very familiar with. We broke it down in two areas of sort of responsibility. Mr. Holland updated the above ground storage tank, where we stand at that. We have three major deadlines. One is already passed, October 1. We met that deadline, complied with it. We have 2 more approaching, December and January of December this year and January 2015 on the above ground storage tank part. On the source water protection plan, I updated them on our progress of inventory in our zone of critical concern, which runs from Sago to a quarter mile below our intake on Wood Street. We most recently took the opportunity to visit the county government, the local health department, Office of Emergency Management, Local Planning Committee, LEPC, and there will be some public notices going out in the paper. We will be holding some public meetings, probably my target date is sometime early December, to involve local stakeholders and get some input from them and some ideas on how we as a community want to approach protecting our source water, which is a supply of water for our drinking water. We also took the opportunity last winter, before the incident in Charleston happened in January. Mr. Holland and I had attended some tabletop exercise training with a local comm center, 9/11 folks up there, and they were working on a drought scenario which will be taking place, I believe, October 23rd, 24th. Tabletop exercise. Well, that prompted Jay and I to have a discussion about some management tools for us in our department to be able to put in place or have in place certain procedures and policies to give us sort of a guideline as to where and what we do if we ever got into a water rationing scenario. So I worked on a drought planning manual at that time, and it was in the middle of that process in January when the spill happened in Charleston. So that prompted further conversations, and we took a look at some other plans and some other ideas, and we incorporated that in our draft plan. We presented that to the water board, asked them to take a look and see if we could adopt some policies that are recognized by the state to give us some enforcement authority and oversight locally at a local level. So I'm anxious to hear the feedback from the water board next month. On Kelly's side, the hydrant flushing he reported last month, or yeah, it was last month, has been completed. There are some private hydrants yet to do. Most of those are behind secured fencing at facilities. But for the most part, the system has been flushed. We had one boil water last month to report on, and the crew's been working heavily involved in routine maintenance of our system, pump stations, and equipment. That's all I have, Mayor.
Questions for Tom? Thank you, Tom. Good job, Tom. Tim Rock, Sewer Department.
Good evening. I think I reported before about this CSX Railroad out Route 33 that we're trying to purchase some land out there. And we have received communication this week that they're about to finalize that agreement. So there isn't any issues there. We think we'll be able to purchase some land that we can build sewers on out that way. We have received a landfill flow meter for the old landfill, which we'll install soon. It'll give us a better indication of what we're getting out of the old landfill. Our line crew has finished a project on Buckhannon Street, which is between Marion and Preston. We've completed that and moved out of there. We've actually moved back to Mark Avenue, which is a project we started before the Brook Street failure at the college, and that kept us away from there for a year, but we're finishing that up. We're opening bids tomorrow for a new dump truck to replace a 1997 dump truck that we have that has 150,000 miles that badly needs replaced. We have completed a project at 140 Fayette Street, a house that had a failure, and we decided the cheapest and best way to fix this house was to replumb the house itself and take it a different direction. And our crews were able to do that, and it turned out to be a good job there. Our plant crew is working hard on the new grit project. There's a lot to do, and it needs to be completed before we get into freezing weather, because there's some equipment there that is vulnerable to the weather. And lastly, our neighbors at Philippi did a major plant upgrade, and we were able to help them by being able to receive their product and process it at our plant. And we were able to do that and help them out, and it didn't affect us any.
How did you do that?
How did we do that? We actually took their sludge and ran it through our belt presses and did things. So
Trucked it over?
they paid to truck it over.
Truck it over.
Yes, and we were able to process that and not upset our plant.
Good.
Tim, when you say you're putting I think you said a new meter in to measure what's coming out of the landfill?
Yes.
Could you expand on that, what that actually measures and what comes out of there?
Leachate off the old landfill. I think there's a liner in there, and the rainwater that comes off of the old landfill goes down to a pump station and is filtered and pumped has to be pumped into the sewer system. And we actually bill the waste department for this sewage that comes out of that. It actually has to be put in the sewer system and treated. That leachate can't go back into the environment without being treated.
Hey, is that a significant amount that goes in each day or week?
Well, it depends on, of course, it depends on the rain and the weather, but I can tell you better when we get this flow meter in exactly what that'll be.
Where is the old man? Between 5,000 and 7,000, yeah.
A day?
A month.
Okay.
Where is the old landfill?
Out Mud Lick.
Okay. Is there anything going on at the really old landfill that was up Stanley Run?
No.
Nothing. That's all done with?
Nothing that I know of.
No, that's done. I just wondered if how long it lasted. No, it's done. Good.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
David Colley?
Thanks, Mayor. Several updates. First, while Matt's here, he may want to say something more about this, but 2 weeks ago tomorrow, we had our first exploratory meeting of possible Upshur Lewis County Drug and Violent Crimes Task Force. And our city was very well represented. The mayor was there, Mr. Doss was there, of course, Chief Gregory, and I participated as well. I suppose there were 20 or so attendees altogether from all of the Upshur and Lewis County police agencies. We had state police presence, several federal prosecutors in the room, including Bill Ehlenfeld, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of West Virginia. And essentially, there's a letter in your packet that I gave you that came a few days after the meeting to me from Mr. Ehlenfeld. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of the discussion to develop a strategy on how to combat the drug problem in the city of Buckhannon and the surrounding region. I believe that Chief Gregory is on the right track, and his plan to hold regular intelligence meetings with key stakeholders is a great start. Please keep me in the loop on the scheduling of the meetings so that I can ensure that someone from the U.S. Attorney's Office is present to provide support and guidance. And I shot a letter back to him, which goes, Dear Mr. Ehlenfeld, thank you for shepherding our community's law enforcement leaders during the first meeting to explore possible formation of a drug and violent crimes task force held here in Buckhannon on October 3. I also acknowledge receipt of your letter dated October 8. I sensed much enthusiasm among the meeting's attendees, and I believe there is a collective positive energy to formalize collaboration among our area's agencies to combat drug-related issues here. To summarize some of the upcoming events concerning this concerted effort, law enforcement investigators will commence monthly meetings, with the first meeting to be held on Thursday, November 6 in Buckhannon. Investigators also will meet in December and January, and then we will reassemble all of the participants, including you, of course, and any other attendees you deem helpful to our exploratory process on Monday, February 2, 2015, here in Buckhannon. If you would like to include federal investigators in the November and ensuing monthly meetings, please contact Buckhannon Police Chief Matt Gregory. I believe this trial period, with a few monthly sharings of information among the various agencies' investigators, will help form a strong foundation for possible establishment of a task force to serve our Upshur Lewis community. Additionally, I am currently reviewing drafts of mutual aid agreements that, upon execution by the collaborating agencies, will further formalize the information and investigation sharing among our agencies here. Thank you as always for your continued attention and concern respecting our area's drug and other problems. Please feel free to contact me at any time. So, Matt, I don't know if you want to say anything else about it, or Mayor, you were there too, but I thought it was a really super session.
Was the county well represented too, David, with Lewis and the law enforcement?
Jake Rieger, Dave Godwin, and Sheriff Kaufman had one of his deputies there. So yeah, it was well represented. Adam Gissy and one of his deputies from Lewis County, the police chief from Weston, the prosecuting attorney from Lewis County, Steve Warner from the federal prosecutor's office, the fellow who established the Ohio County Drug and Violent Crimes Task Force came. We had the state police detachment fellow from Elkins. The director of the Mountain Region Drug Task Force was there. Help me out with the name, Matt.
Mike Garrett.
Mike Garrett, yes. So it was very engaging. I don't think there wasn't a shrinking violet in the room. Everybody had a couple of opportunities to speak their piece, and I would just characterize it as a very positive first meeting. At the end of the meeting, I asked Mr. Ehlenfeld as he was leaving, I said, were you disappointed that there wasn't an outright commitment? And he said, oh no, He said, when we did the mountain region one, it took a year's worth of meetings before they agreed to formalize the process. So if something would come down the pike as early as February or March with ours, we would be well ahead of the game compared to some of the other situations that he's been involved with insofar as forming these task forces.
Part of that process will be notable benchmarks to see the effectiveness of.
Yeah, I think Matt would speak to this best, but the thinking is to have 3 or 4 of these investigator meetings, and then that energy will kind of build on itself once these folks are sitting down together and sharing information about who they're investigating, and oh geez, we've been investigating them too. The more that we can act in a concerted, collaborative way, the bigger dent that can be placed in the problem.
That's great.
Mr. O'Neill had a question.
Well, I think you partially answered. I was just going to maybe ask you or the chief to explain, you know, what is the added value in pursuing this versus, you know, the agencies working independently as they are now. Maybe talk about kind of what the value added is.
Well, the value really is immeasurable. Collaboration, information sharing alone can go a great distance. You know, in a lot of situations, if agencies aren't talking to each other, you can be spinning your wheels and investigating the same thing, and you know, by and large, that's counterproductive. And so, if we're sharing information at its basis, that alone can expand your area of focus. And then when you get into concepts such as resource sharing, beyond intelligence sharing, then again, you know, each of our agencies across the board have limited manpower. That's a driving issue.
So this will allow cross-jurisdictional pooling of law enforcement resources, and you can have, if you have an operation, you can involve Lewis County or City of Weston law enforcement in an operation taking place in Buckhannon or elsewhere in Upshur County.
Right, correct. And you know, the reason behind that is, you know, crime doesn't know boundaries. The drug trade doesn't know boundaries. And our areas are so geographically intertwined that we see a lot of the same problems and a lot of the same characters involved in these problems. So by, you know, and again, we already had and as I expressed at the meeting, we already had a really good working relationship with all these other agencies. This is just taking it to the next level.
Thank you.
I have one question. David and Matthew, this by getting this task force started, it's a great thing, and I know and I understand about the information sharing, collaboration, and all that. But if there's a huge bust, okay, like hot stuff and cool things, then we can because we're a part of this united task force.
Don't call it a task force yet.
Don't call it task force yet.
This is information sharing. This
Information
is collaboration
sharing.
amongst
Okay.
agencies and information sharing. And you know, I think it's generally understood that, and this is my, correct me if I'm wrong, this is my understanding from the prosecutor's point of view, both federal and state, that anytime you have a stake in an investigation that results in an arrest and asset forfeiture, when you're part of that, you're going to be part of the asset forfeiture. That's been our experience with our own investigations. In fact, we just seized some monies here that was involved in an investigation, and we were the investigating agency. But when you're looking at multiple agencies, when you're involved directly in the investigation and you're part of that, it's my understanding that you're part of the asset forfeiture as well. Was that your understanding as well, too?
It was. Out of that meeting, that's exactly what I gathered, yes.
But let's stress too that money received for all that is not the main object of this.
That's correct,
force.
and that's exactly what Bill Ellendale said.
Yeah.
And it's
the prime focus here is to get drugs off our streets.
Right. And it's a regional drug and violent crimes task force. Is it not a task force?
Not yet. It is not, absolutely
Not yet, okay.
Task force is a contractual agreement
Okay.
between agencies. This is a collaborative.
This is
collaborative,
beginning
if you will.
steps of the
It's working together.
Okay.
Let's talk turkey. What's our investment in this
At this
going to be?
juncture, there's no
I mean, what could,
monetary
what,
investment whatsoever.
what is it likely to be if this proceeds to the task force stage?
Task forces, you're looking at anything from manpower investment to monetary investments for criminal investigations to equipment monetary.
Any kind of ballpark or universal figure that we're looking
To
at?
give you something off the top of my head, I really couldn't.
I think it's too early to make that
I
assessment.
think we're counting on these investigators to determine the magnitude, we can suspect that the magnitude of the activity is off the
So you
charts.
collaborate informationally, and then you determine what you have to build in order to
That's
address
exactly
it.
what I would see is happening. And maybe the bottom line is there will be a recommendation coming out of this group, this committee of investigators that, okay, we need to have 4 special agents. And Weston and Lewis County and Buckhannon and Upshur County, we'd like you to all commit 1 person and the necessary equipment and vehicle or whatever to do that. That could come back to the council months on down the road, but that's at least months on down the road.
I think it's fair to say that in that meeting, everyone was really hesitant to commit money because everybody was, budgets are tight. And we're all in that situation. But I think that the decision to collaborate, cooperate, have these investigators meet, that first step, I really was well pleased with the spirit of the room for cooperation, and let's move slowly so that we can make it work. Let's don't just jump in and fail. Let's move slowly and try to get it going. So I was pretty well pleased with it personally. What else you got, Dave?
Just a couple other real quick things. I did finally last Friday speak with Anthony Martin, the Chief of Staff with Attorney General Patrick Morrissey's office. I had probably placed 15 calls, I would suppose, in the month prior to that concerning the ALPR FOIA issue. And out of that comes this letter which is sent to Mr. Rigger, our prosecuting attorney. Dear Mr. Rigger, you may recall receiving a courtesy copy of my September 5 letter to West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrissey requesting guidance and more specifically an advisory opinion involving interpretation of our state's Freedom of Information Act, and citizens sought access to data gathered by our Buckhannon Police Department's officers while using the city's single automatic license plate reader that was acquired by Buckhannon pursuant to a West Virginia Fusion Center grant during the fall of 2013. I'm enclosing another copy of that letter for your reference. Just last Friday, I was finally able to speak with Anthony Martin with the Attorney General's office, who advised me of the Attorney General's strict adherence to Chapter 5, Article 3, Section 2 of the West Virginia Code that provides in pertinent part, and this is right out of the code. As the Chief Legal Officer for the state of West Virginia, the Attorney General is the general lawyer for the state and has the power to issue opinions on questions of law. Under the West Virginia Constitution, the Attorney General has the authority to express his legal views on matters of state legal policy. Furthermore, the office is required by statute to, quote, this is out of the code now, give written opinions and advice upon questions of law whenever required to do so in writing by the governor, a number of other specific state executive officers, the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, and any other state officer, board, or commission. The Attorney General also may consult with and advise the several prosecuting attorneys in matters relating to the official duties of their office. The Attorney General has declined to offer an opinion directly to the City of Buckhannon on the matter described in my September 5 letter. However, Mr. Martin indicated that a request forthcoming from you would merit issuance of an opinion. I respectfully request your assistance on our city's behalf to solicit an opinion from our Attorney General on the matter described in my September 5 letter, that is FOIA and possible data generated by the city's automatic license plate reader. This matter is likely to rise again both here and in other places around our state, and guidance from the state's chief legal officer on how to proceed with FOIA requests concerning ALPRs would be very helpful to the City of Buckhannon and the many other communities who utilize that law enforcement technology. Any assistance you may render shall be greatly appreciated. If you should have any questions respecting Buckhannon's request, please contact me. And of course, we're continuing to copy Sergeant Light with the Fusion Center. They have a dog in this race too, so to speak. So more to follow on that as we follow up with Mr. Rigger.
That's what I expected to get back from the Attorney General.
Well, it's not what I had hoped for.
Been hoping
But anyway.
in there.
The next thing I have, and this was partially at the request of Michael Doss, we had a discussion just yesterday, and there are, I know how you all just love ordinances, and there is a wave of them coming very soon. So this memo, I'll read it quickly. It's from me to you today, ordinances, procedures, and requirements. This memo is to alert our city council about a number of ordinances that will be necessary for you to consider in the several months ahead. Chapter 8, Article 11, Section 3 of the West Virginia Code provides, in the following enumerated cases, the action of governing body shall, emphasis added by underlining and pursuant to the holdings of the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals, shall means mandatory, except where otherwise provided in this code be by ordinance. And then real quickly, the 11 things that, and there are some others in the code, but these are the ones that the primary things where you have to do things by ordinance. 1, levying taxes or providing for the collection of fees of any kind. 2, requiring a license to do business. 3, relating to offenses and penalties. 4, authorizing the issuance of bonds or other forms of indebtedness. 5, providing for public improvement. 6, providing for the purchase of private property by the municipality or for the sale, conveyance of property belonging to the municipality. 7, laying out or vacating a public street, avenue, road, alley, or way. 8, relating to planning and zoning. 9, granting franchises to public utilities. 10, providing for a contractual or other agreement with another jurisdiction. And 11, relating to such other matters as the charter may require. There will be a number of matters that the council will be required to consider, and if the city is to conduct its business, will require council's adoption of ordinances. Among those forthcoming ordinances will be the 4 planks of the recently approved home rule plan, all of which shall be required to be reflected in separate ordinances. And I might just put the pause button on the memo for a moment, in case you're not aware as to how this process works. Things that we can do right now that are outside of home rule, we continue to do those things. You don't need to submit every ordinance to the home rule board. If it's something that is outside of what municipal corporations are generally permitted to do under state code, then those things that we have in our home rule plan as the 4 planks, or maybe ends up being 8 or 10 planks in the years to come, before the council considers those ordinances for adoptive purposes, they have to be sent to the home rule board for review. They meet monthly. It might be a couple of 3 months before they get back to us on our proposals, but we got to jump through those hoops relative to the home rule board.
So, quick question, sorry, just to clarify. So that includes ordinances implementing matters of our already approved home rule plan?
Those 4 things that are in our home rule plan have been tentatively approved by the home rule board.
We still have to submit.
We still have to submit the authorizing ordinance to them. Once they give the thumbs up, then we can run it through the council, do the 2 readings, the legal notice that's required with home rule ordinances, all that stuff. So there's some great things in these planks, but there are some extra steps that we have to go through in order to realize them, okay? Back to the memo, the TV cable franchise renewal. Remember, the current franchise expires December 31, is required to be in ordinance form. All increasing of utility rates or reconfiguring police and fire fees or changes to the city's B&O tax structure must all be realized by ordinance adoption. The recently annexed parcels aggregating 5.4 acres to permit auto disposal systems expansion just off the Brushy Fork Road will be before the Planning Commission during their October 28 meeting. And you should anticipate a recommendation concerning how that property will be zoned. Zoning is required to be evidenced by ordinance. That matter, once before the council, must be by ordinance. Some other ordinances likely to be considered in the months ahead will address such things as codification of our city's ordinances, Water bonds, amendment to FOIA fees charged by our city. Consideration of a rental registry similar to that adopted by the city of Elkins on October 17, 2013. Formal adoption of our city's comprehensive plan, and consideration of increasing the statutory ceiling concerning competitive bidding on equipment. I also remind the council about the long pending ordinance before you concerning compulsory meeting attendance of utility board members. There may be a dozen or more ordinances for the council to consider during the next few months. As you may have heard me say before, ordinance adoption is the primary manner of conducting the people's local governmental affairs and business. So, that's all I have about that, unless you have questions for me, and then I have just a couple of other real quick updates.
I do have a quick question, Ken, if you don't mind. And it's a clarification that I've been trying to deal with in my head. The difference between a resolution and an ordinance. Now, these are two very easily confused legislative procedures, but both are supposed to ultimately attain the same goal. In your opinion, as far as ordinances and resolutions go within a municipality, which is the best way to continue on with your legislative process?
Well, an ordinance is different from a resolution.
Can you explain the difference then?
A resolution typically is something like a policy statement or something in a state or federal statute that specifically uses that word resolution, which is a one-reading kind of a document, okay? Typically expressing a policy.
Okay.
An ordinance is something that bears upon one of those 11 matters that are in tonight's memo, having to do often with property-related matters, tax, fees, those kinds of things, planning and zoning.
Right.
There are some other sections of the code that refers to benefits of employees of government, state or local, must be evidenced by a statute or, in the case of a municipal corporation, by an ordinance.
Right.
So that requires minimum of 2 readings, except in an emergency situation. And an emergency situation isn't the council saying, well, we want to do this really quickly, so that makes it an emergency. That's not an emergency. So that's the primary difference.
Most of our resolutions, Steve, are when we have to send an adjustment to the budget to the state.
Budget revisions, things of that sort. You might recall last fall, just a little bit past this time, we had the near catastrophic sewer failure down along Railroad Avenue, and we needed to act very quickly to submit application for funding, and through the one state agency that we were successful in getting that funding, and they required a resolution. So we had an emergency special meeting at the Sanitary Board City Council and did that at that meeting. So,
I just wanted to clarify, because they're both, because with the resolution, you can still abide by, it's almost telling you what the rules and regulations that you're going to abide by from within the council or within the city, but without going through the whole ordinance process. Is it easier to amend, and I don't want to go back to school for any of the college students, I know you guys are getting late, but is it easier to amend or change a resolution as opposed to an ordinance?
it is easier to amend a resolution because you can do it in one reading and you can amend it in one additional reading. If you're amending an ordinance.
That's what I'm getting down to, Dave. Is I'm wondering if, besides all the ordinances, which are defined by code, which we have to go by ordinance, aren't there other things that we could be doing as resolutions as opposed to ordinances?
Not that I'm aware of.
Ordinances are more sweeping
Okay.
than resolutions.
An ordinance,
Every time
it's a law. An ordinance is a law. A resolution is a decision within the laws that we are allowed to some measure of latitude. Is probably the best way. But state code requires ordinances in a number of.
I understand that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, not just for me, but there's some other people.
An ordinance is nothing more than a local statute.
Right.
Same thing the legislature would do in Charleston or the Congress would do in Washington, D.C. That's what we call an ordinance.
Thank you.
So, yeah. The Angus suit, quick update there. The court has ordered mediation in that case, and the mediation is scheduled for November 19th.
Who's the mediator?
Don't know that, haven't gotten word of that yet. I just got the order for mediation, and it's going to be on November 19th. I'll inquire, let you know. Continuing to work on the Sudden Link franchise agreement, and perhaps as early as the next meeting, we'll have that ready for you to look at. You have in your packet the letter agreement that the mayor has already signed and delivered to the Upshur County CVB concerning the joint use agreement that was entered into earlier as part of the lease agreement. And I would remind everyone who's interested that there is, and I don't mean to steal Mr. Edwards' thunder, a planning commission meeting on Monday. I believe it's Monday, or is it Tuesday? It's Tuesday, isn't it? Tuesday, October 28th. And among those discussions would, of course, be the comprehensive plan, zoning of the newly annexed 5.4 acres out on Brushy Fork, the college district, all that stuff. So it should be a very full meeting. That's all I have, unless you all have questions for me.
Questions for David? Okay, that brings us to correspondence. You have a letter from Buckhannon Academy Elementary PTO, request for children's block party. It's down in there someplace. I just looked at it. It got away from me. It says, I'm writing this letter on behalf of Buckhannon Academy School, blah, blah. At the present time, we're hoping to sponsor a children's block party on October 25th at our school, open to the entire community. Trick-or-treat, carnival games, pumpkin drop, costume contests, craft vendor show, and hopefully free hay rides from 9 to 5 p.m., while the outdoor activities will be from 11 to 2, asking approval for hay rides, take the riders from the back parking lot down Elm Street to Chapel Hill, then down Hart to Elizabeth, and back up Victoria Street to our parking lot. Due to the fact that we're opening this event to the community, we are requesting that the city police provide some support. What's your pleasure on that? Would you approve the request of the Buckhannon Academy Elementary School PTO?
I move with.
Wouldn't that normally go to consolidated?
I don't think we have time for that.
Oh, okay.
How do you feel about support, Matthew?
Yeah, we don't have any problem with it. Generally on weekends, we, barring any kind of emergencies or vacations, trainings, what have you, we generally have a couple officers out working the day shift. So I can try my very best to have presence there. Of course, I tell folks this all the time when they're planning like events, that if an emergency arises that requires the officer's attention, of course, he's going to have to focus on that. But other than that, it's not at all uncommon to have events such as this throughout the year that request either a police presence or a police participation, and we do our very best to accommodate that given the circumstances.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
We are going to have 2 fall festivals in the same area within 5 days, 6 days. Basically.
You're looking at Chapel Hill?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I guess so.
Are they asking for police?
Well,
help also?
Chapel Hill, that's going to be on a Sunday afternoon, I think, and they typically do not ask for assistance, and it's adults driving, and so they're just going to drive.
Okay.
So vote on the Academy PTO. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The second page of your packet, I took it upon myself to approve a similar request from Chapel Hill United Methodist Church, because I got this Tuesday. And I mean, they've got it dated October the 8th, but I saw it first on Tuesday morning's mail, and we would not have time to put it on the agenda and give them time to do it. So I went ahead and approved it for your information. I hope nobody shoots me over that.
Is Chief Gregory aware of that one? Kenny? Is Chief Gregory aware of that?
He right.
That's why I was
On
asking.
Sunday?
Yeah.
This Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was married.
Yeah. They pass the word around. There are, further in your packet, there is a request from Timothy Reese to be appointed to the Planning Commission. A request from Christine Bennett to be appointed to the Planning Commission for your consideration later. Brings us to the consent agenda, which is approval of minutes of regular meeting of October the 2nd, approval of building and wiring permits, approval of payment of the bills, approval of Tetrick and Bartlett CPA to conduct the 2013, 2014, and 2014, 2015 audits, and approval and the inclusion of the Zoning Board of Appeals on September 30 meeting in the city minute record. Would entertain a motion to approve the agenda, the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made. Tom seconded by Ron. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed no. The ayes have it. Strategic issues. Appointment to fill a water board vacancy. We have 2 requests. One from Michael Livesey, one from Robert Osborne. Last meeting we put that off. We had a discussion. We mentioned the possibility of having a interview. What's your pleasure here this evening? I had recommended last meeting that we would appoint Michael Livesey, and like I said, we had a discussion, but we made no decision. Do you want to proceed with that appointment this evening, or do you want to proceed with scheduling interviews?
I think we proceed with the appointment.
I'll second that motion.
Or proceed, well, then
Thought it was.
move to appoint somebody.
I'll make that motion
To who?
to appoint Michael Levesey.
Motion to appoint Michael Livesey, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
No.
Mr.
Roll call vote,
Recorder,
please.
you will call the roll.
All right, I have Mrs. Albaugh.
Yes.
Mrs. Albaugh, yes. Myself, yes. Pam Kupari?
Yes.
Pam Kupari, aye. Tom O'Neill?
No.
Tom O'Neill, no. Dave Thomas?
Yes.
Dave Thomas, aye. Ron Pugh?
No.
Ron Pugh, no. You got 4 to 2. 4 yeses to 2 noes.
Motion carries. Michael Livesey will be the new water board member. Appointment to fill 2 planning commission vacancies. I would recommend for your consideration Mr. Timothy Reese and Miss Christine Bennett to be appointed to the planning commission.
I would make the motion that we appoint Tim Reese and Christine Bennett to the planning commission.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Do we have any other vacancies on that, Mayor?
I believe we do. Rick, we still have an opening or 2 there on the planning
I
commission.
do believe that fills up our board, sir.
You do?
I do believe
okay.
so.
I was looking through it
Is
the
there
other
one
day.
from the chamber? Has it been filled?
Yes.
Okay.
We have 15 now, or we just do 15 copies?
Okay. Do we have,
Police civil service.
do we have police civil service
Yes.
Oh,
filled?
No. Well,
that's the chamber appointment.
that is the chamber appointment,
Yeah,
and they did appoint somebody, but the question was, did we ever approve that? And I looked through the minutes and we didn't. I don't think you can actually do that tonight, though.
In reading the
I don't think.
code, Mr. McCauley, in reading the code, and I have done so on different occasions on these police and fire service commissions, it seems to me to be very clear that we have no say in the appointment of the chamber. they make an appointment and advise us. And
Absolutely.
that's the board member.
If the council had an informal recommendation you wanted to share with the chamber, that's different, but the appointment has to come from the chamber.
And the FOP makes an appointment.
That's correct.
And the mayor makes an appointment, not the council. In that particular case, that appointment is made by the mayor. Now, I have always, in my tenure, would solicit approval from the council, but it's not required. So if the chamber has appointed someone,
He's here.
they sit.
Do we approve the appointment or just?
No, we have no say.
All right. then.
We have no say in it.
We have our appointee from the chamber here. Mr. Osborne is that person.
Okay.
And the question was, did we have to approve that? And you've clarified that.
Yeah, that's, am I reading that right, Dave?
You're reading it entirely correctly. Absolutely. It's the same thing with the FOP. If you don't like who their person is.
Too bad.
Too bad. But what I have a question of, Mayor, may I ask, Mr. Osborne, are you prepared to accept that appointment?
Yes.
As a Chamber of Commerce appointee for the Police Civil Service Commission?
Yes.
Thank you.
There is one caveat that I would mention, actually two caveats. People who serve on the Police and Fire Civil Service Commission are not permitted to serve on other boards or commissions, number one, generally speaking. And number two, there is a delicate balance that must be struck relative to political party affiliation. And recognizing
more than two.
Can't have more than two Democrats or two Republicans on the commission. So you may want to just subject to confirming that Mr. Osborne's appointment doesn't create any issues with that. Do a tentative acceptance, and then that could be checked out.
He's currently. It's semantics, I suppose. I mean, we can pass a motion and accept his appointment. That'd be fine. There's no harm done in that. But we pass the motions and reject him. He's still on the board.
That's correct.
On the commission. We
Right.
have no control over that.
Well, unless the chamber's appointment, if the other two who are already on the
the only
board
control we
are
have.
Democrats, and he's a Democrat, or they're both Republicans and he's a Republican, then I think the council would need to notify the chamber of that political impasse and ask them to appoint a person of a different party affiliation.
And Robert is currently on the planning commission, right?
Correct.
And I think that's a really critical board for the cities. And I think it's really...
Rich, that was changed. This requirement about other involvement in the community, there was a change to that in the 2013 legislature. We talked about it.
There's some language, new language.
There was some new language in there which makes some exceptions to serving in other capacities. And okay, we'll.
Not sure our ordinances reflected that yet.
Yeah, but we'll ferret that out and see what.
And while you're filling vacancies, you have at least 2 vacancies on the zoning board of appeals.
And those are Michael
Michael, because you just moved him to.
and the other Michael.
Right. Well,
Dorothy Short, right?
Dorothy Short.
Well, Dorothy Short, what about,
He claims he's still a resident of the town.
well, he does, huh?
Michael?
Yeah.
Sharplisky?
No.
No.
Oh, Calvin. We'll check on it. I will clear this police civil service 4-year term. We have one member that is a Republican, and we have one member who is a Democrat, and it doesn't matter what your affiliation is, you're good to go.
Okay, but my question is, if he still wants to serve on the planning commission, may he? Can he?
Can we check on that?
We can check on
Look
that.
at it under for a different purpose, but let's check on it.
We'll check.
Because his involvement would be, I think, very good for the planning commission also.
I do too.
I do too.
I agree.
I'll,
I think it'd be great for the water board.
Here's the thing, it is so closely defined to the fire civil service which is the police and civil service, they're both connected. We had the same issue with the fire civil service, and it wasn't a concern having that person on, considering the planning commission, but I will double check to make
But
sure.
basically, those two civil service, the police and fire, kind of parrot one another, but not exactly. But not exactly. So you gotta check the police civil service. You gotta check that, and make sure that you're okay.
Very unique, very unique.
It is, it's very unique. Okay.
Okay.
Ready to move ahead. The DOH reclamation of North Florida Street Bridge, First Street, and the bridge. A number of years ago, you all, I'm just going to give you a real short history lesson here, but you know about this. The old Cleveland Avenue Bridge was in terrible disrepair. You could drive a truck over it on a sunny, warm June day, and it, underneath the bridge on the water, it looked like it was raining because the bridge would just shake enough that this had to be replaced. And it was an orphan bridge. Nobody owned it. The state said, we'll take it over, but we have to connect two county or two state highways. So the city turned Florida Street and I think Cleveland Avenue and 5th Street, but it might have been first, but I think it was Cleveland Avenue and 5th Street over to Department of Highways. They claimed the bridge, built a brand new bridge over there, and somewhere down the line, the city asked if they could have their streets back, because that way we wouldn't have to get state permits for doing repair work and those kind of things. And the state gave the streets back, and we, this was ahead of my time, but I've seen the letter that was written on behalf of the mayor at the time. The request specifically accepted the bridge. We do not want the bridge, we just want the streets. And the state held a public hearing and gave us back the bridge. And we claim we don't own the bridge. And they're taking, the State Department of Highways goes in there on occasion and inspects the bridge. A very good friend of mine who I go to church with keeps asking me, where do we send the inspection report? I said, not to me, it's not my bridge. Called the county commission, they said, it's not our bridge. So we're back to an orphan status for that bridge. Nobody claims the bridge.
I'll take it.
Dennis said he'd take it, he was gonna put a toll booth on either end of it. But
I live next to it.
I have spoken with some officials of the Department of Highways at the state level. And here's what I propose, and it's been told me that if we make this request, that it'll happen. I propose that we offer to give the bridge, Florida Street and First Street, back to the Department of Highways. And I would entertain a motion to that effect. Jay?
North Florida, right, from?
North Florida from 151, Dave Cook's, out to the bridge,
Okay.
cross the bridge, turn the corner just past Dennis's house, go out past the vocational school
That's First
to the
Street,
Hall
isn't it?
Road. That's
Yeah.
First Street.
Yeah. Where did 5th Street come in?
5th Street's down by,
Yeah, I know, but you mentioned, you thought that was,
well, I think originally, when they took it, they took Cleveland Avenue clear to 5th.
clear to 5th, oh, okay.
And I'm just saying, I've talked this over with Jerry Arnold, I've talked it over with Sam Ledbeau, and I think I talked with Jay a little bit about it. And we think this is the way to resolve it. Part of the problem is, there's things just keep popping up there. There's a section of guardrail that somebody pranged, and Highways with offers to fix it and to send us the bill.
Yeah.
It's not our bridge. And we need to resolve this. We need to put this to bed once and for all. And a a simple letter to the district engineer copied to this individual at the Department of Highways, Charleston, will cause that to happen. So I'd entertain a motion.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, please do.
Is there a weight limit on that bridge?
20,000 probably is standard now. I can remember back in the day, in a previous life when I was mayor in the 70s, and that bridge would rain that little particles of concrete.
Is that a
and there
log
was
truck weight?
We're not going to run tractor trailers over it, but we could.
Okay.
It's a substantial bridge, but we had a 3-ton limit on the bridge, and one of the council members remarked, "It's really silly that we've got a 3-ton limit on that bridge and we just put 6 ton of blacktop on it." It's a joke. Let's get over the joke. I want to entertain. I want to entertain
Wasn't
a
very
motion
funny,
to return the North Florida Street from Route 151 to the O'Brien Bridge and down to First Street on Cleveland and First Street to Hall Road.
Including the bridge.
Including the bridge.
To DOH.
To DOH.
So moved.
Including the bridge, even though we don't own it.
Yeah.
I will
No,
second
I'm not
that.
gonna, yeah, I will word that just so, that we never, ever want to claim that we ever owned the bridge. Ever, ever. No, we're not gonna quit claiming it. We don't own it.
We don't
We'll
want
give
to
you the
own it.
streets so that you can access your bridge.
We have.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to do the same thing with Barber Street up to Marion Street, which is also a state highway, Marion Street, and so I can get Barber Street paved and taken care of there. It's not been done for 39 years. I've lived there that long. It's one of the only streets in town that has not been repaved or fixed. It's still got the old concrete base on it. So can we give that back to the state?
Thurman Avenue's the same way.
Love to give that back to the state.
Thurman Avenue's a freight, and
Yeah.
I'm just jesting, but really.
Yeah, we have to do a lot of street work, and we intend to keep it.
39 years.
Comments and announcements, Ron?
39 years.
39 years, that all you had?
I'd like to wish everybody a happy whatever's coming up, homecoming for Buckhannon Usher, homecoming for Wesleyan College. Be safe out there, respect everybody.
Okay. Mary?
Nothing.
Speechless. Rick?
I'm good. Thank you.
Tom?
Nothing tonight.
Pam?
I just want to say one thing about this old business that Michael sent the letter.
Yes.
Where he wants us to authorize Macaulay to draft ordinances for enterprise zone and part-time officers. Shouldn't we add part-time firemen on there also?
Can't do it. We asked in one of our pillars in our request for home rule said police. Now, maybe somewhere down the way we can change it, but for now, it's police.
Because we didn't ask originally?
It's what we asked for, yeah.
Question, Pam.
What you asked.
David?
I just make, at some point in time, Kenny, we need to start getting the fifth Thursday of the month with the county commission. And this month is one of those months, but I think the next time we ought to do that.
I think when we do that, we're gonna have to meet at the county commissioner's offices instead of here.
During their meeting.
Yeah, we're going to go up there on Thursday afternoon or something.
They claim that they can't conduct any business outside of the courthouse.
And
No business.
that's in chapter 7. They cannot. They can go out and take information and have discussion, but they have to go back to the courthouse, back to their room to pass any motion.
That's fine.
That's law. Yeah. Okay, we have need for an executive session, and there are a number of things, personnel and property matters that we need to discuss here this evening, so I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
698-4.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
a little bit.
Glad you all were able to come out this evening. That, passing that motion for 698-4 means you all have to leave.